And a quick look, of course, to what we're asking you this morning, which is tagged to the question of the day and the stories we've done, especially with Independent. We're asking you, what challenge do you think the rise of independence will portend come August 2017, or August the 8th, 2017, the general election, right? Of course, we've seen the principle, one of the principles of NASA is saying this is not predicated on law, but maybe on the bills of rights, rights of association. So he does on Twitter. AM Live NTV is a Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is a profile name on Facebook. And 20505 is our SMS portal. Right, if you are joining us this morning, I'd introduced your guest already, but for the benefit of our viewers who are joining us, we have with us Suleiman Shabal, who is a businessman and also Mombasa governor aspirant. We have with us also Honorable Kipruto Arap Kirwa, who is the deputy leader of Amani National Congress and the former Minister for Agriculture. We have with us as well Dr. Shemo Chodho, who is the global leader of Kenya Diaspora Alliance. Right, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Right, and of course, Shemo Chodho, also you are a former minister, right?
MP.
From Member of Parliament.
That's right.
All right. Okay, the rise of independence and what is the challenge with this? Let's begin from Mombasa, where we see Hassan Omar also is being selected to be the next governor of Mombasa. Of course, I know you're vying for the same position as well, but we have a challenge also with the independence. What does it portend when it comes to the general election?
The idea of an independent candidate is not a bad thing in itself. But the problem with the independents that we have here is that most of them are people who lost in the primaries. So it's really a coalition of people who have lost. I mean, if somebody stands as an independent out of principle that he doesn't belong or subscribe to the philosophy of Jubilee or NASA, that's acceptable. Mm-hmm. But if you've lost in primaries and run as an independent, I think their contribution is going to be marginal at best. I don't expect any major surprises or contribution from the independents. And some of them are just simply wasting our time.
You think so?
Absolutely.
But they were actually taking special umbrage with the party primaries. First of all, they are saying they were not done credibly. It was not fair. And a lot of corruption were within the primaries as well. So you cannot just escape that particular huge number that we have, almost 5,000 of them. So we cannot just dismiss them, that class.
We're not dismissing them. They're a substantial number.
You say this is very marginal.
What I'm saying is that ultimately when the final results come out, you're going to see marginal results from the independents. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, the party primaries have not gone according 100% to script, which is normal in any large primaries. But I think by and large, at least the Jubilee primaries, I can say, were reasonably fair and transparent.
So the Jubilee, you're calling them sour losers? You think, why do you think they are sour losers?
Disgruntled losers would be a better word.
The word here we have is the sour losers. Yeah. Let's hear from Honorable Kirwa. Sour losers there, you think?
Let's engage on the issue of independent candidates from the fact that all party nominations, almost without exception, were flawed, to the extent that many people who lost would not necessarily have lost. And therefore, there was a measure of unfairness. And it would be unfair for us to still look down upon these individuals who may be independent candidates, but in some areas where they decided to move for fear of competition, then that is where there should be a problem. Mm-hmm. Number two, let's take cognizance of the fact that the current parliament, before the end of its term, has 68 members who ran on parties other than their own original parties, and they managed to win.
Yes.
This therefore means there is a certain constituency which was denied their freedom by lack of party hopping that arose out of that court ruling. And these individuals found some kind of consolation in going independent. I can give a hypothetical case that the next parliament, on the balance of things, may end up with some of the independent candidates on either side of the divide being more than some of the political parties in terms of size. I would give a figure of about 40 of them in parliament, running as independent, might actually win. But the consolation is it may assist the parties, like where there is a strong presence of Jubilee, it may be to the advantage of the presidential candidate that these individuals will mobilize their supporters and in the process improve the turnout in some of these areas. Because if it was just a straight fight between the opposition and some areas where there is no presence of opposition or presence of Jubilee candidates, the turnout would be suppressed because people will not be motivated by any measure of competition. But finally, let me say this. It is also important to note that it can also be costly in some of the what we call battlegrounds.
Yes.
Like Nairobi or any other part of the country where a strong party will be whittled down by the presence of independent candidates and take away some of the votes of that political party and allow an opponent to that political party who would have easily been number 2 or number 3 to squeak through and deliver a win at the position of members of parliament, senators, governors, and even MCAs. So these are some of the dangers. But going forward as a nation, we must think clearly on how we shall carry out nomination in political parties, how we shall make laws that reflect the reality of Kenya. Because some of these laws were made by people in political parties and they fashioned out a suit that fits them and forgot that also independent candidates, as of necessity, have a right. Yeah.
All right, moving forward, we have a challenge also when it comes to parliament. You say that there will be, the chances are that
there are likely to be 40 members of parliament who are independent.
40 members.
40 members. I can say this without fear of contradiction, and September, God willing, we might come back here. But what I know is that they will fall into their surrogate mothers or fathers. Because if they are from Jubilee side, quickly they will move to Jubilee. And if they are from NASA side, they will move to NASA affiliate parties.
So that's the way I see it. This is just a window period they are using.
It is a window that they want to also to survive politically. Yeah.
So once they garner the tickets, then
they are likely to move into that because the Constitution today and even Political Parties Act does not in any way recognize independent candidates to the extent that they can form a force that they will attract the funding, they will attract also positions in parliament. You are just independent, it's like you have no stand. You are left alone. You are isolated. In fact, they should be called isolated candidates, for lack of a better term.
Isolated candidates.
Isolated candidates, because independent, but when they get there, they are not given the latitude to operate.
Suppose they're not really rowing back to, you know, their parties because they feel they have been aggrieved and they don't want to go to these other parties, their formative parties. Then what does it portend when it comes to constitution, that we have a bloated number of independents in parliament? And this has not been foreseen, you know, with the drafters of a constitution, that they will have a rise of independence some way when we're getting to a general election.
Well, I think the reality will dawn on us, and at that particular time, we shall make the necessary changes. So let's cross the bridge when we get there.
All right. Yeah. Dr. Shenutoro.
Debal, I don't think the Constitution didn't anticipate this. The problem is not with the Constitution. The Constitution very well anchors independent candidature.
Yes.
The problem is in the Political Parties Act. And the Political Parties Act was a mistake of the two major coalitions. Basically, they were trying to kill party hopping. But then there was this loophole that allowed people that within, I think it's 60 days, you could, or it's 90 days, you could still move from one party to another. Sorry, to be an independent candidate, not move from a party to a party. I think party hopping from one party to another, the two coalitions did try to squeeze it, which in my view was also unconstitutional. Yesterday I had NASA leadership blame Jubilee for that law. But they're forgetting when this law was on the floor, both sides, as usual, when there are increases of salaries of MPs, they both were together. So why try to pass on the blame while both Jubilee and NASA ganged up together to come up with this unconstitutional law, if you ask me, that tries to deny people their right of association where they want to belong. So there was this loophole. I would want to believe that come the next parliament, there will be another attempt to also close that loophole of people moving from political parties to be independent. But this should be a clear sign for our colleagues who are currently in parliament that, you know, there are laws that you pass assuming that you'll perpetually be in parliament and be on the right side of your political party. But reality is very far from that. Every cycle, 70% of MPs are voted out. Maybe by declaring interest as a one-time member of parliament.
Yes.
If I was to go back to parliament, we didn't have pensions then for people who have been in parliament for just one term. Every MP believes they are going to be re-elected, so they are going to be a second timer. I think for the small window that's left, my caution to the MPs is be certain that you will not perpetually be in parliament. You'll be an MP today, tomorrow it will be somebody else. Come up with the laws for posterity that are universal. So this law in particular was wrong. But the second point, perhaps more importantly, is the shambolic nominations that took place. And again, without being seen to be an apologist for Jubilee, Jubilee from day one said they wanted IBC to conduct the nominations. And I think there was wisdom in that. In fact, I have a lot of respect to my brother, Honorable Kirwa, partly because he's very objective and level-headed. So he doesn't just go with the grain. But sometimes I think he's also in a very wrong coalition. I don't think he fits, because the things that when we were together forging NARC, because as Kenyans know here, I and Dr. Noah Wekesa were very instrumental into NARC coming into being. It made a lot of sense for parties to pull together into one. You know, when somebody, the former vice president, goes to Ukambani and says 6-piece, is he sincere? 6-piece and Wiper doesn't have a presidential candidate, so it can't be 6-piece in Ukambani. Let him say then 5-piece. But that's also the double-speak. When the
Is it just for the interest of a party, maybe?
I think so, but again, it's a miscalculation in my view. I think in this regard, Jubilee is even smarter. I've seen Jubilee leadership saying, look, we welcome those in the independents, we're happy to work with them. But what's NASA saying on the other hand? Let them go to hell. I was telling my brother here, I was saying Mheshimiwa, leader of majority, saying the same. I was saying he's probably in a wrong party. He speaks the same language as the leaders of NASA. Maybe that's where he should be. But that's not the kind of what you expect when you are in a close election like we have. I think they should be embracing those who lost. Because I had the two co-principals in a FINRO in Nyanza, and one is saying the party is ODM. That's where you should vote. At that time, he's with ANC leader. And I know there are ANC candidates in Nyanza. What does he mean? He's saying, no, don't vote NASA. ANC, we are competing with them. Because there's no political party called NASA. So this is the irony that we have. And I would want to believe that unless NASA changes tact, they're going to lose badly.
Really? All right. And of course, we saw the Kenya Alliance, Kenya Independence Alliance. That's what they're calling themselves.
Yeah, Alliance for Independent
Alliance for Independent Candidates.
Correct.
Now, if they sit down, because it seems, yes, there's a proper structure and people are negotiating right now to become a party.
Right.
Are we seeing another third force coming very strongly?
That's where I belong.
That's where you belong?
Yes.
Suleiman.
I'll be seriously surprised.
You'll be seriously surprised?
I think my honorable friend, Dr. Kirwa, is me being a bit idealistic.
No, Dr. Ochodo.
Dr. Ochodo.
No, I'm referring to what you are saying. That you're expecting to
it's
see
an honorary doctorate and you've got it.
Never mind. Yeah.
To see 40 members of parliament on an independent ticket will be a long shot. We have a challenge. I mean, today we have a coalition in Mombasa, for example, that is the Jubilee lineup. We are obliged to support our candidates. Some of the independents are people we know, they're our friends, we like them. But when push comes to shove, we have to go with our candidates. I don't see how it will be easy for the independents to run off on their own. And second, what we're seeing in the NASA coalition is reflective of the total chaos of direction in that party. I've watched my friend Honorable Kolonzo calling for 6-piece. Exactly what he's saying. What's 6-piece? This is an ODM structure and the rest are flower girls.
But looking at the number of cases we have in Jubilee compared to other parties as well, it seems Jubilee, some of the people are the candidates, the independent candidates, that particular burgeoning number is really coming from the Jubilee side of the independents.
Because
a lot of frustrations. Given just last week, we saw also the ticket that was awarded to Governor Mwangi Iria also has been retracted, right?
It's true, but you see, we also had more candidates. We had much more candidates than ODM and Wiper. So naturally, the fallout is going to be bigger. But you know, you look at some of the people who have decided to go independent. You look at the case of Kabogo. You know, almost 3-1. What are you running for? What are you wasting people's time and money for, running as an independent? Peter Kenneth is just going to hurt the chances for Sonko in Nairobi, and Sonko is our Jubilee candidate. So I think some of these independents are just creating nuisance value at best. And frankly, I don't think they're going to make much of a contribution to the political evolution of this country, at least at this point in time.
All right.
I'm coming back again that if they're running as independents from ideological point of view, that they don't subscribe to the philosophy of NASA or Jubilee, then I can understand that. But not this story of jumping because you've lost a nomination.
All right.
And declaring independence.
Interesting also headline on the front page of the Star this morning, and it's all about State House fixing Peter Kenneth. It says how State House fixed Peter Kenneth. Sonko is reported to have threatened to unleash embarrassing tapes. Former Gatanga MP has the support of people close to President Kenyatta. Initially we thought, and we saw and we discussed here, even the president when he was in Muranga, he spoke in vernacular. And he seemed to be siding with Peter Kenneth. Where things changed, we really do not know. So was this under duress that Sonko threatened to unleash embarrassing tapes, and that's why maybe he somewhat, I don't know, won this particular Jubilee ticket?
No, I absolutely don't believe that. Sonko is my friend. Sonko courts controversy. So that's typical of Sonko's style. And I don't think that State House is going to be bullied or blackmailed into taking such a position. Sonko won the nomination, that's it, we live with it.
Well, there was a wide berth, and we're given to understand, also from the intelligence that we have, Rab also said that even some ballot stuffing was done, you know, during the night. Right, let's hear from Honorable Kirwa.
Well, I would be pretending if I said I know more about Jubilee than about NASA.
Yes.
But as I said at the beginning, and I'm really not apologetic to any side of the equation, is that the political party nominations in Kenya is actually a case study. One may need to delve into it more to understand what are the rudimentary challenges that we have as political institutions.
Yes.
Because we are still a fledgling democracy, a democracy that needs to be nurtured, a democracy that needs to be built and be given strong foundation. That is the way I take it. And I just want to remind Kenyans and my colleagues here that Kenya is still replete of tribal sentiments. And it is impossible today to talk of truly independent candidates, because first you have to clean yourself through the party that belongs to your people.
Yes.
And it's after that that you can say, now I justify to go independent. And this informs, I don't think 4,000 Kenyans could be wrong, who are leaders, and some of them lost narrowly. Take, for example, my good friend, my former assistant minister, deputy speaker of Senate, Gembi Kitura.
Yes.
He lost, he got 146, his colleague got 157. Now, possibly in a more fair contest, the results can go either way. So it may be preposterous to dismiss them outright that they are non-entities, because I've gone through a number of party nominations myself, almost for the last 30 years. And I know party nominations are not as fair as it appears. If you are a stronger candidate and you can bully your opponent, you may actually get 10,000 votes, your opponent gets 1,000. But if it was in a fair contest, your opponent could have gotten even 4,000, 5,000, and possibly would have gotten 8,000. Now, when it comes to the issue of Sonko and Peter Kenneth, I wish the two gentlemen well, because also what we get from the other side is that there was a lot of horse trading and a lot of threats, and at some stage Peter Kenneth was about to quit before the nomination because he was getting pressure from somewhere. And that is the reality of Kenya politics. I don't know what Songa had said or what he had done, but he was getting some pressure external from the local dynamics of Nairobi politics.
Or even the choice of a running mate also, we give it to understand, was not his, but of course that was also the hand of status as well. We shall be discussing this and a lot of other issues. We'll continue with Dr. Shemo Chodho on the other side of a break as well. But